disappeared in 1977, the King Country rumour mill went into overdrive.
Guy murdered his wife.
I'd cut Leslie up and put her down the offal hole.
Buried her somewhere on the farm.
Some fingers pointed at Leslie's husband, Lindsay.
He was the #1 suspect.
Police were that sure.
He was the guilty one.
7 months later, Leslie's body was found near her farm.
Now they're going to find out who did it.
I'll never forget that day.
And then they changed the story.
The police concluded that suicide was the most likely explanation.
That blew half of the people away.
Rather than have a failed investigation, we'll just say it's suicide.
But mud sticks, and to this day, rumours of murder still haunt Lindsay.
It's definitely ruined his life.
I didn't kill Leslie.
For the first time, the prime suspect in a murder inquiry has called on Sensing Murder to investigate. Tonight, 2 psychics will attempt to contact the spirit of Leslie Calvert.
She's warm, she's loving.
Very close to the children.
She's absolutely a beautiful person.
To uncover the truth about her death.
Somebody knows something.
Why?
How did this happen?
Did Leslie take her own life?
Why have you gone all funny?
A lot of sadness in the home.
Or was Leslie murdered?
She's just tripping out here.
Got arms.
Were you strangled?
They can't breathe.
And if so, who is to blame?
I feel like she must have known him.
Why do I feel funny about the husband?
I think they think it's the husband.
I didn't kill Leslie.
Waikawau is a sleepy farming settlement deep in the heart of Taranaki King Country. Isolated, unspoiled and inhospitable, where the locals are as rugged as the land.
I'd spent my life just down the road here. Went to primary school down here.
130 kilometres away in Egmont Village, Leslie Yates grew up on a dairy farm. She was a pen pal of Lindsay's terminally ill sister. When the couple eventually met, Lindsay was smitten.
She was always well-dressed and happy-natured, outgoing. She loved animals, which was something that appealed to me. She was a fun person, she really was.
Lindsay and Leslie married in 1963 and moved to Taupo, where they had 2 daughters. 5 years later, they moved back to Waikawau and had their 3rd child, a son.
It was everything I ever dreamed a relationship would be. I think we got on extremely well. We were soulmates. She was a fantastic mum.
Lots of hugs, made us clothes, just all the usual things, the baking, and yeah, we did things together.
Leslie was wonderful with her children. She really was. They were the apple of her eye.
Loved her kids very much and would do anything for them.
In Waikawau, Lindsay and Leslie bought land next to his parents' sheep and cattle farm. They later combined the 2 properties and had the difficult task of managing 1,500 acres of craggy hill country.
Leslie used to help with the stock work.
Grab that one,
She'd help with the drenching of the lambs and drag the sheep out of the catching pen for us. It was hard living, but it was a lot of fun. We had lots of laughs.
Anything that needed doing around the farm, basically she would do it. Look after the dogs, feed the chooks, feed the animals.
She could milk a cow, she could shear a sheep, kill the house meat and kill the dog tucker.
Leslie was a very, very capable woman. She really was. She thoroughly enjoyed doing what she did outside.
She loved animals, horses, any animal. She just loved animals.
In between working on the farm and running the home, Leslie found time to take the children to Pony Club.
She taught us how to ride, helped us learn how to jump and how to handle the horse. Yeah, very good at handling the horses. Loved them.
Leslie also did voluntary work around the district.
Used to participate at anything on with the school, with the hall, Lions, Pony Club, St John's down at Awakino.
The families got together, the school did things together, and her and Lindsay were both very much involved.
I was the charter president of the Lions Club down here, Tainui Lions Club. We travelled rather extensively there.
Lindsay and Leslie were a sociable couple, always inviting locals over to their house for drinks.
To me, it appeared a wonderful relationship. It really did. They complemented each other.
They worked very closely together. They bounced off each other.
They got on extremely well. Really did. They had a great understanding of each other.
But by 1976, cracks were beginning to form in the relationship.
Everything you need?
Lindsay was hospitalised with skin cancer. Alone on the farm in the middle of nowhere, Leslie was desperate for company.
The loneliness, I feel, got to some of the women.
Leslie came out to see me when I was in hospital and brought a friend out with her. That made me scratch my head a little bit.
And it was taken advantage of.
He was a man with a reputation that went back many, many years. He was a real Romeo.
Lindsay challenged Leslie, and she admitted that she was having an affair.
Go away!
They fought. Yeah, they definitely fought.
We did get to the stage where we'd talked of separating. I actually asked the kids, all three kids, that if Mummy and Daddy split up, what do you want to do?
Basically, everything revolved mainly around my mother. She took us to school, she did everything.
You want to stay on the farm with me or go with Mummy? And they all said, go with Mummy. Leslie would have gone back out to town with her parents and I'd have lost my kids.
Determined to keep his family together, Lindsay persevered with his marriage. He hoped that 1977 would herald a new beginning. But Leslie's friends and family noticed that she was losing weight and seemed depressed. On February the 2nd, Leslie began the day by driving her children to school.
Yeah, that's great, sweetie.
They were aged only 8, 10 and 12, but still picked up on their mother's unhappiness.
I can distinctly remember trying to cheer up by saying something about the ducks that were walking along the road because, you know, she loved that kind of thing.
Leslie then returned home to do her chores. There, she and Lindsay had a disagreement over whether he should buy a new lawnmower.
You can't
Shall I
afford
get
it.
an ordinary 18 or wait and get the 20-inch one? She said, we can't afford either, which happened to be right. And I said, well, we didn't want to live in a pigsty either. She'd just finished making Greg's bed. She was petting Nipsey, the cat, and the vehicle turned up the drive, and Leslie said, who's this?
It was a friend who'd arranged for Lindsay to fix his tractor tyre.
I walked out and I never ever saw Leslie again.
Lindsay and his friend spent the next hour in the shed, 50 metres from the home.
What time?
Then both men returned to the house.
When I came up to the house about 10 to 11, I called out for coffee or coffee for two or something like that. There was no answer. And I thought, well, she must be out with the horses.
The family car was still at the house, so Lindsay assumed his wife must be somewhere on the farm. But by 3 o'clock, when it came time to collect the children from school, Leslie! There was still no sign of Leslie.
Being picked up by Dad and her not being there, you just knew something was wrong. Right then and there, something was wrong.
And I'll never forget, as the kids came running inside, they were calling out something, Mummy. And I said, well, our Mummy's not here.
It was frightening. The unknown was frightening, you know, what was going on. You know, where was she? She wasn't there to look after us.
And they went outside under the trees out here calling for Leslie.
I can remember going and calling and thinking, oh, you know, she must be out the back with the horses, or, you know, she must be mustering, or she must be doing something.
Lindsay became increasingly worried. He contacted the police to report Leslie missing. The following day, locals flocked to the farm.
Went up there just about in convoy to see how we could help or whether we could support Lindsay in any way possible.
The little paddocks down here were full of cars, and there were cars up both sides of the driveway. We couldn't even get a car up the driveway. People turned up by the hundreds.
He was very, we've got to find her, she's here somewhere. We were looking for somebody that's hurt somewhere, and keep your ears open and there'll be somebody yelling out somewhere, and he broke a leg somewhere.
I just thought, well, maybe she's wandered off something or other, or she's had an accident. No real concern as to anything else.
Police, search and rescue and local volunteers scoured every inch of the 1,500-acre farm and beyond.
We searched every possible place that we could think.
To see, you know, if we could find any trace or what had happened to Leslie.
I'd see a log somewhere that I hadn't looked behind, and I'd have to go and have a look behind it.
She's here somewhere. All we have to do is find her.
Next, as the hunt for Leslie intensifies, the police investigation turns to murder, and Lindsay becomes the #1 suspect.
He was very badly treated, I felt.
I didn't bloody kill her.
When 33-year-old Leslie Calvert disappeared in 1977, everyone assumed that she'd had an accident on her farm and would soon be found. But exhaustive searches failed to find any sign of Leslie, and police soon began to investigate other possibilities.
We were told that she might be hiding. And and we had to look up every tree and behind every tree.
I thought maybe she has taken off with somebody.
She wouldn't have left us children. If she was going to leave Lindsay, she would have taken us kids.
My hope was that she would turn up because the children needed her.
But Leslie didn't turn up, and the rumour mill went into overdrive. Bizarrely, the local newspaper ran an article stating that Leslie's body had been found on Waikawau beach. It was completely untrue.
There were lots of rumours as to what had happened to Leslie. In a small area, of course that's going to happen.
The main rumour was that Lindsay had actually killed his wife and buried her somewhere on the farm.
And somebody told the police that I was going and shifting her body every night.
In April, a team of detectives swept into town to investigate the possibility that Leslie had been murdered. None that we spoke to were prepared to discuss their investigation on this program. However, under the Official Information Act, Sensing Murder has obtained full access to police files.
The police totally focused on Lindsay killing her.
They put the pressure on him pretty hard.
When detectives discovered that Leslie had been having an affair, a potential motive for murder emerged.
I know you bloody killed her, Calvin.
And Lindsay found himself the #1 suspect.
Can you imagine what it's like having your bloody guts ripped out and having a bloody senior policeman coming at you, accusing you of killing your wife?
There was a policeman and I was standing there and he said, I know, he was talking to my dad, and he says, I know you did it. He says, we can't prove it. He says, but I know you did it and I'm going to prove that you did it.
He was very badly treated, I felt. He was the #1 suspect in their minds.
They'd got the kids down on the lawn and they questioned him. Did Mummy and Daddy argue? Did Mummy and Daddy fight? Did Daddy shout at Mummy? If Daddy had killed Mummy, where would he have put her body?
It was like they were angling for something along the lines that I could say, oh yes, you know, I think he had it in him to hurt her.
The 3 kids of their own volition went up to the stockyards and they had a meeting and they decided they were never ever going to mention Mummy again.
It's sad because we don't ever talk about her or anything, and it's like a part of my life that I'd like to know more, but it's really scary because it hurts, so you don't talk about it.
Detectives and scientists scoured the house and farm for any evidence that Lindsay had murdered his wife.
The police were sure that Lindsay had something to do with it.
They took the lampshades from above my bed. They made it very clear that they thought that was Leslie's blood that they were testing for, and turned out to be fly shit.
I was horrified when they could even suggest that Lindsay was guilty.
Somebody said I'd cut Leslie up and put her down the offal hole, which was full.
That was the worst thing, you know, if she'd been killed and thrown down the offal hole.
They spent thousands getting a digger up here to dig that up.
Detectives investigated a handful of other potential suspects, including Leslie's lover, but found no evidence of murder. Soon after Leslie disappeared, disturbing events began happening on the Calvert farm.
We had a house cow shot, fed through the eye with a 22. We had 4 sheep shot up here by the stockyard, shot with a 22, gut shot at that, which is very, very cruel.
We'd go down to our grandparents for dinner and we'd come back and things had been moved in the house. Things had been pulled out of the hot water cupboard. That was scary.
My kids had 2 pet goats, real pets they were, and they both disappeared.
7 months after Leslie vanished, something even more disturbing occurred. A possum hunter laying bait along a fence line bordering the Calvert's farm made a shocking discovery.
I came home and Darryl walked out and he said, I found Leslie.
Your wife?
I said to him, what do you mean? And he said he had found Leslie's body up opposite Mum's and Dad's house. We
were told that our mother's body had been found. I remember my brother and sister crying.
And I gave each of the kids a cuddle. And I said to them, well, somehow we had the box on. At least be thankful we knew where she was. And try and make the most of their lives. And the knowledge that Leslie at least would have been proud of them. I'll never forget that day.
Leslie's body was lying under manuka and rata trees less than a metre from the fence line.
Leslie was found just on the other side of the fence line, clearly visible from out here. Her nylon shirt like this was bright orange, about as highly visible as the iridescent red or yellows that they wear on the road now.
Strangely, the area where Leslie's body was found had been repeatedly searched.
I couldn't believe that Leslie's body had been found there. It was just inconceivable to me.
Between 50 and 100 people would have walked that line. No way was she there then.
How she had got there, I couldn't imagine, but I know that she wasn't there when we walked up there.
Leslie was found wearing the same clothes as the day she disappeared, as well as a yellow jersey. Her shoes were missing. In their place, a pair of mismatched men's gumboots of unknown origin. While a post-mortem revealed no obvious signs of foul play, a small piece of the hyoid bone in her throat was missing.
Any doctor, any pathologist will tell you that that is a sign of strangulation or a severe blow to the throat.
But the pathologist and police concluded that the damage to the hyoid bone was not significant and could have been caused by a cattle beast stepping on Leslie's decomposed body.
That theory didn't wash with a lot of people.
I've worked most of my life amongst cattle, and cattle will not willingly walk on a body of any description.
No way would an animal step on a dead person or a dead anything.
And I don't believe that a cattle beast could do the limbo under manuka branches that high and exert their weight on Leslie's throat.
Sensing Murder consulted a scientist who specialises in the behaviour of cattle, who also concluded that it was highly unlikely a cow would have trampled on Leslie's dead body. The coroner was not told about the damage to the hyoid bone. The information was deemed insignificant. At the inquest, the coroner ruled that Leslie died from unknown causes. Despite initially launching a murder inquiry, the police eventually concluded that a depressed Leslie had probably committed suicide. No forensic evidence backed up their theory.
One of the theories was that she had chosen this spot to lie down where she could see up by the house up here, by our house, and Mum's and Dad's place down there, and that she had lain down there and chosen to die there.
That didn't happen. That did not happen. She did not sit down there and die.
As far as I'm concerned, the police wanted to get out of it. They'd had a guts full, they wanted out.
Well, rather than have a failed investigation, we'll just say it's suicide, but that's just not a possibility.
At the inquest, police officers, the head of search and rescue, and locals all testified that when they searched the fence line, Leslie's body was not there. Oddly, the coroner still ruled that Leslie died where she was found on or around the day she went missing.
2 or 3 months at least after she went missing, we again went up that fence line, and she wasn't there.
I'm certain in my own mind that she didn't die when she was on that ridge, and I think she was put there by somebody or people.
The only explanation that I can think of for her body being found where it was after searchers had searched that area is that somebody hid the body.
There may have been a thought that they wanted Lindsay fingered for the death.
Another puzzling fact was the level of decomposition after 7 months. Some parts of Leslie's body were still covered with tissue and flesh. Lindsay experimented by exposing a sheep carcass to the same conditions. It was a skeleton within 3 weeks.
I still think that a freezer is a possibility, that the body was frozen and then put back there under the cover of night.
I believe that limbs tend to mummify when frozen, and I wonder if that is what happened to Leslie. I've never, ever, ever felt that Leslie died up there.
With no clear resolution, the local rumours persist.
I heard the husband was meant to have killed her and her lover.
I was told that a pig hunter went pig hunting and his dogs dug her up out the back of the house there somewhere.
The most recent one was somebody said in a loud, clear voice as I was walking past his car, I think every murderer should be bloody hung.
Oh, up at Waikawau, that's where the guy murdered his wife.
They're not talking about the man on the moon. They're talking about me. And that hurts.
The rumours caused Lindsay to leave Waikawau, and his son now runs the farm. Returning is painful for a man who has spent more than 30 years trying to clear his name and have the case reopened.
Lindsay has become obsessed with finding out the answers.
I've been to the Ombudsman twice. I've been to Wellington to try and see the Commissioner of Police.
His whole life has revolved around the case, as he calls it. Yeah, basically, yeah. In 1977, that's when his life as he knew it stopped.
There's always been the sadness of just what happened to Leslie. And that eats at my guts.
Lindsay's life has been devastated, absolutely devastated. Not knowing what's happened or how it's happened.
It's very important to Lindsay that that his name is cleared of the murder, both for him and for his children's, so that everybody can move on.
I feel this is my last-ditch effort. I'm washed out. Do or die. I didn't bloody kill her. That simple.
Next, two psychics will attempt to contact the spirit of Leslie Calvert to uncover the events leading up to her mysterious death.
She's just saying, stop there, young man.
Keep getting the word husband.
Tonight, for the first time, the main suspect in a murder inquiry has turned to Sensing Murder for help. Lindsay Calvert insists that he did not kill his wife. He wants the psychics to clear his name and unmask the real murderer.
What are you trying to show me?
How did you die, Dale? You've got to tell me these things.
A New Zealand and an Australian psychic have been selected. 75 psychics from across New Zealand were tested. A little-known solved murder was chosen for the testing procedure. Presented with only a photograph of the victim, the psychics were asked to produce details of the crime, the location and the killer. Of the 75 psychics tested, only 3 were able to describe intimate details of the test case. One of these New Zealand psychics, Kelvin Cruikshank, has been chosen to investigate Leslie's death. Kelvin works full-time as a psychic medium. He holds live shows and workshops and is the author of Walking in Light.
I work with spirit because I believe first and foremost in them. I believe that we all go somewhere after life, in this lifetime into the next. I also believe that it helps people.
100 Australian psychics were also tested. One of these, Deb Webber, will assist in the Leslie Calvert inquiry. Deb tours Australia and New Zealand with a live psychic show connecting people with loved ones who have passed over. She is also a magazine columnist.
It gives people confirmation that they're still around, that energy doesn't disappear. People disappear, but not the soul and the essence of someone.
Under Sensing Murder rules, the psychics have not been told any details of the case or the people involved. They do not know the location of the case in advance and are only told their destination at the airport. Each psychic is filmed on a different day. They are kept under constant supervision to prevent them researching the case. Correct statements can be, but are not always, confirmed during the readings.
I think it's wonderful if the psychics can come up with something for Lindsay's sake and his family.
My whole life changed, and I'd like to know, what happened.
Well, I'm hoping the psychics can help me to get closure, to try and convince somebody what really happened, that it wasn't me, I didn't kill Leslie.
Kelvin flies from Auckland to New Plymouth. He begins his reading at the Awakino Hotel, 40 minutes drive from the Calvert farm. Kelvin is offered a photograph of Leslie, but chooses not to look at it.
Why am I afraid to speak? That's how I feel, afraid to speak.
On a different day, Deb travels from Brisbane to Awakino. Like Kelvin, she chooses to keep Leslie's photo face down.
I'm actually picking up on a female energy.
She's making me feel as if it's okay to talk now, which is good because she's starting to feel a little bit more relaxed.
She's got dark hair, brown.
I think she may have had straight hair, because she's talking about maybe permanent.
Short hair, by what I can see here. Medium type build. She's got white skin. She's Caucasian. Brown eyes. They're like a hazel.
Are you old or are you young? What are you? How old are you?
She wore trousers a lot. She looks quite rounded in her facial here.
Not telling, see? She's staunch, man. Not in the horrid way, but she's strong character.
Interesting, because my vision shows me a woman probably in her 40s, but I don't think she is.
I just asked her if she made it to 50. And she starts laughing at me. She said, I am not telling you my age. End of the story. I'm young and beautiful, and that is all you need to know, boy. I was like, okay. She's stopping me at 29. She doesn't want me to go any higher than that.
She's taking me into the 30s.
Stop there.
She's just saying, stop there, young man. You will not go any further than that.
Young 30s, so 33.
Leslie looked older, but was only 33 when she disappeared.
She's warm, she's loving, she's absolutely a beautiful person.
Fun, quite lively. There's a bit of a sort of a bounce here, a spring in her walk. So she's a bubbly type personality.
She's quite bubbly, actually. She's funny, she's got a good sense of humour on her as well.
Feels like a lot of people would have known her around the area. I don't know why, but she seems to like the guys anyway. Men and energies.
I'm in a party situation, I'm drinking a few beers and having a few laughs, so she's a bit of a socialite as well. She knows everybody. Everybody knows her. She's very popular.
Socialising, people. I can hear noise, like parties or gatherings of people.
Leslie loved to socialise. She and Lindsay often invited the locals around for drinks.
I wonder if she did volunteer work or church or, I don't know why, but I keep seeing gatherings of people together.
She's talking about how important the community is to her, voluntary work.
She's nursing or no? What is that? There's this warmth about her looking after people.
One of Leslie's many volunteer jobs was for the local St John's ambulance.
She's also talking to me about sports clubs, things like that. What was your chosen sport, Dale? She just shows me the trophies. She's making me feel as if the trophies, the connection to being successful is massive, man. Very, very talented woman. Oh, my goodness.
Leslie won many trophies for table tennis. She was a New Zealand pairs champion.
Asking her what her interests are, it's funny because as soon as I asked that, I'm going outside. So I've got animals.
Oh, I love my horses too. So, jumping the horses.
I can see legs, look like horse legs to me.
Pony club. Oh, that gave me big goosebumps then. Pony club. Jumps, kids, pony club.
Leslie owned a number of horses and spent hours with the children at Pony Club.
I keep getting the word work, but I feel like I have to say farm, even with her.
1,000,001 chores to do, so she must have come from a farming background.
She's showing me chores that she wasn't scared to get in and get her hands dirty.
She's talking about cooking for everybody. She's making me feel as if the woolies, the sheep, are a really significant part of her life. She just loves them to bits.
Their property was quite extensive. It wasn't, it wasn't 5 acres, it was quite large.
Lindsay and Leslie's sheep and cattle farm spanned 1,500 acres.
I'm asking her name.
And there's a big L.
There must be an L.
L, okay, I heard you.
Lisa or Leanne, Lee.
Alpha Leslie, Alpha Lisa, Leanne, Lisa, Leslie.
There's 6 letters in the name. It's L-E.
Like my dad is Les. My dad's called Les, and she said like your dad's, but L-Y on the ends.
I know there's an S, so Leslie.
She's happy because she's blowing kisses at me, so Leslie. Hi, Leslie.
Without even looking at Leslie's photo, the psychics have described her appearance, personality and interests. Now they turn to her family.
She keeps talking about her home and how important it is.
Keep getting the word mother. When she looks like a mother, she feels like a mother.
She keeps showing me the kids, which are really, really, really important to her.
How many children have I got here? I know she's got more than one. She's got three children.
She's cheeky. So how many children do you have? She goes, Then she tells me a number, and I said, not including your husband.
Seems to be a boy. I think it's 2 girls and a boy.
Leslie has 2 daughters and a son.
Husband.
She's now still talking to me about the husband. So, I don't know what she means by that. She just says, say the husband.
Husband.
I keep getting the word husband coming in too.
Why do I feel funny about the husband?
Next, the psychics try to answer that question as they return to the day of Leslie's death.
It feels as though the husband came home.
She keeps gasping at me, like...
Despite launching a murder inquiry, police eventually concluded that farmer's wife Leslie Calvert had probably committed suicide. Now the sensing murder psychics will attempt to uncover the truth as they ask the spirit of Leslie to take them back to the time of her death.
She must have been last seen at home, or she was at home. Keeps showing me a house, sort of out on its own.
I just asked her where she was. She says I was at home.
It's quite a large land or something. Very vast. Gravel driveway, stones everywhere. Still keeps coming up a light-coloured house, so it's white or off-white.
A nice long gravel driveway there and this big old white house. There must be a veranda on the front of it.
There must be a veranda at the front of the house because I'm stepping up onto a wood veranda, decking.
The children are relevant because I'm liking the sound of children, and that's probably why I'm here in school, or seeing the school pictures and the kids.
Something about children, which I know she's a mum. Can't figure out where the children have gone though, because I don't think they were at home whenever this happened. They're either at school or someone's. They keep seeing her in a vehicle, so she's taking them.
She's also talking about the Ford Falcon.
Leslie did drive her children to school that morning in the family's Ford Falcon.
So I feel like she just went straight back home after this. I don't think anyone else saw her. Feels like normal sort of routine at the moment. Something about chores, so she had chores to do. Now, I'm prior lunch still, so I'm in the morning with this.
In her house, doing her things, potting around, kids at school. She's angry about something, no?
I keep getting frustration and anger.
Husband.
So I still get the word husband. So he must have been around.
Leslie's husband, Lindsay, admits they argued that morning.
You can see her straightening the beds, like fixing up the bedrooms.
Lindsay claims the last time he saw Leslie, she was making the children's beds.
Yeah, she's talking about tractor. It's the typical world of farm.
Tractor or something here too.
What time?
I can't get the husband in really strong. But he must have been there, like working on he must have did things around the house.
Lindsay and his friend were fixing a tractor tyre in the shed that morning.
Feels as though the husband came home. I keep getting the word looking for her. So he went out looking for his wife.
Lindsay says that when he and his friend returned to the house at 11 a.m, Leslie was gone.
How'd the children get home? I feel as though he brought them home because I've got his energies plus the children's energy coming home. But she'd already been gone. She's now missing.
She still can't understand exactly what happened for her. It's like 1 minute I'm here, click, the next minute I've disappeared.
He's looking around, but I can't see her. I can't find her.
I'm like, where are you? What happened to you? And she just looks at me.
I think he's gone in and rang the police because I've got police cars coming to the house then.
You know, back in the 70s, coppers used to have the old Holden Kingswoods with the old bobbing thing with a little wee blue siren. She just showed me one of those, so I've got to go back in time here.
Way back. I keep hearing the word go way back, go long time back.
My auntie was murdered in the 70s. She's saying the same as your auntie, so I'll just try to remember the year.
See, I'm going 1970s because I have to go back way back. 1970s.
7, so 78. was roughly the same year my auntie was the year that my auntie was murdered. So she keeps saying, keep going, one more up, one more back.
78.
78. 77.
77.
77. 1977.
7's important. She goes like this. Stop at 7.
February, the month. 1st, 2nd, 2nd. February the 2nd.
Yes.
So, February the 2nd, 1977.
Leslie disappeared from her home on February the 2nd, 1977. To try and find out how and why, the psychics tune in to Leslie's photo.
She's only 33. She looks so much older than that.
You can tell straight away she's bubbly. But when it comes to talking about her passing, it's really difficult.
Leslie, back to mid-morning.
Well, how did you die, Dale? You got to tell me these things.
I just had a visitor that day at the house. The word visitor keeps popping in.
It's almost as if I'm seeing somebody come to her house, knocking on the door.
I keep hearing a knocking on a door, like someone must have come up to the house.
The veranda, the porch is really important.
I keep getting that front door with the veranda and some man stepping up onto the veranda part of it. Seems to be a boot. Working boot.
There's the connection to the animals, which is really quite a significant thing.
This is someone she knows, because I'm not getting a fear or worry.
It's very possible people were interfering with her animals.
See, how did you end up where you were? Car. Well, her car's still there.
Where were you at the time of your death?
I keep getting the word away. What were they doing at the fence line? All I keep hearing the word is walking.
She wants me to follow her, so we'll try.
It's like I have to go through paddocks or something to get to where she was. She's trying to fight someone off because I'm getting pushed around.
Just make me feel as if I've got to touch my head, indication to banging of the head.
She must have been hit on the head.
Putting me lying on the ground.
I can hear screaming. I've got arms sort of swinging everywhere.
A reference to something to do with her neck.
Like a tightening around the throat, and there's something on my throat.
Were you strangled?
Strangulation.
She keeps gasping at me, like...
I keep hearing the words, I can't breathe.
Puts her hand across her chest. And it's almost as if it's just a big gasp.
The psychics have confirmed the worst fears of Leslie's family and friends, that she was murdered.
She might be missing persons, but I don't think so, because I keep seeing a funeral.
Just then I got a picture of a cemetery. Then I get a picture of how amazing the headstone is.
So they did find her. What's this got to do with the fence line? She was near the fence when she was found. Must be the neighbouring property or a state forest or someone else's property. Yeah, because I'm over the fence.
Leslie's body was found just inside the fence line of the neighbouring property.
There's something to do with vision of house still.
See the house in the distance.
Her body looks like it's exposed on the ground. I could be just inside the trees because they're coming in front of me and then I've got her, so just inside the tree area.
I feel like I'm lying down and I'm looking through her eyes up into the branches and looking at the trees.
Leslie was found lying on her back underneath a tree.
Sure, it's a man that found her body.
Found dead by a male, so a male's found her.
See that fence line, they're walking somehow through the fence line.
Leslie's body was found by a man laying possum bait near the fence line.
Whoever came across her wasn't actually in the search party. It was like after.
Because there's the male energy coming in and around her. This is after.
It wasn't weeks or days, it was months before she was found. So probably about 6 months. September was when she was found.
Leslie was found in September. She had been missing for 7 months.
She's just talking about the drama that took place afterwards. Is just like, nobody's got it right. It wasn't suicide. That's the most important thing.
I mean, she didn't do it herself.
The reality of it is that somebody's got away basically with murder.
Next, to try and find out who got away with murder, the psychics travel to Leslie's farm.
My husband's been accused all his life.
I feel as though I'm wondering now where she is.
Psychics Kelvin Cruikshank and Deb Webber are investigating the death of farmer's wife Leslie Calvert. The psychics are in Awakino, 40 minutes drive from Waikawau, where Leslie and her family lived on a farm.
I have to go through windy roads to get wherever I have to go to the home.
Each psychic is given a map of the wider area and is challenged to locate Leslie's hometown.
I have to go north by what I can see. So if I go north, I guess I follow this yellow line here. There's trees and everything, so we're going up into this area up in here. Let me have a look.
Probably quite close to the coast. She's saying go left to the coast.
Here, up in here somewhere. W-A-U-K or W-A-L-K-A-W. A-U. Waikawau? Wow? Wow. I can't say it. Don't ask me to say it.
No. She was saying 3. Well, that's what I felt anyway. 1, 2, 3. I actually thought she meant that. Waikawau.
The psychics are correct. Now Deb attempts to go one step further by trying to identify the actual farm on a topographical map.
Yeah, because I'm on the main road. That one. Or just off this main road. That's the thing. Because I know her property's up on this side. And the land, she said it was really large. So we're looking here.
Deb has located the farm. Now she tries to find the fence line where Leslie's body was discovered.
And here's the trees, the line of trees. So I think she was found sort of down in this, along this line, somewhere here.
Deb has identified the correct fence line, but is too far east. On different days, the psychics are driven towards Waikawau. On the journey, Deb wonders why it took 7 months to find Leslie's body.
I don't understand why it took so long, because it was on her property. The border of again, the fence line.
Who did drag her into the cluster of trees or put her there, lay her down? Who did do that?
Even that area, I think, was searched. That's the funny thing about it.
The fence line where Leslie's body was eventually found had been searched thoroughly many times.
When she was found, there was just bones. She keeps showing me the bones. She had boots on. Gum boots or Wellingtons.
Leslie was found wearing a mismatched pair of men's gumboots. Where she got them remains a mystery. As Kelvin approaches Waikawau, he is drawn to a property.
See the house on the hill up there? Just caught a glimpse of it when I went past it. Can we turn around? I definitely know that's not her house, but she's telling me to stop here to look at this house. It's really, you know what I mean, like a worker's house or something like that. We want to look at who was living in this house, who were the workers on this piece of land.
Earlier, Kelvin and Deb described Leslie's home.
Nice long gravel driveway there and this big old white house.
There must be a veranda at the front of the house.
Now, the psychics search for the house they saw in their visions.
Here, the property.
Deb has identified the Calvert farm.
Oh, God, look how hilly it is. It's massive.
Will you slow down? Oh, can you just back up so I can see beyond that tree there?
Oh, that's probably the house. I think we should have a look at that house back there. The white weatherboard.
That house looks very familiar. That's the house that I want to go and have a look at. This is where I want to be.
Yep, to the left, please. Yeah, because that shed is theirs. This is the property.
Right.
Guided only by the spirit of Leslie, the psychics have located her home.
I just feel as though it's still in the family for some reason. I just feel like they're going to hold on to it. What if the son's doing it up?
Leslie and Lindsay's son is renovating the old homestead. Deb returns to the morning of February the 2nd, 1977.
All I keep seeing is the husband, but I keep getting an image of the shed, the 4-bay shed over there. So he was working over there at the time.
Lindsay says he was working outside in the shed that morning.
And she's pottering, like doing her thing, but I keep going out to that side.
Deb is pointing to the area where the washing line stood.
What'd she have out there that would she be doing? The washing line, the clothes.
It's almost as if she's got a washing basket. There's a basket or a bucket in her hand.
Deb has already picked up that Lindsay was in the shed working. Now the psychics try to pinpoint his movements after that.
I want to eat, or cuppa. So it would have been morning tea, lunch. So it would have been about 11 o'clock that he came in.
Because he's away working and comes back and finds his wife not to be here.
Lindsay says he returned to the house at about 11 a.m. for a cup of coffee.
Whenever I see him come into the kitchen, I can't see her in the kitchen.
He's come home. Where's my wife? She's not here.
He must have come in and started looking for her, because I feel as though I'm wondering now where she is, and she's like vanished.
They must have mounted a search all gathered here at the house. Everyone's gathered, they can't find her, they start accusing, they start pointing fingers at everybody. The husband's probably been accused all his life.
The husband did it. No, he's in having his drink, his cuppa. It's not him.
She said I was murdered. I said, by who? She said, by a local. Points in that direction. So I'd still be interested in that house back there. I don't care what anybody says, but her husband's not guilty.
If Lindsay Calvert did not kill his wife, then who did? The psychics attempt to find out as they retrace Leslie's last steps.
When did it start going down?
So he would have been working down in the shed area. She was up here, but I feel like I have to go this direction. Leslie, what happened?
Someone that she knew stopped outside the road. A little bit of discussion.
See, I feel like I'm doing stuff out here, right? Just pottering, doing my motherly chores or whatever and looking after it. But it's got something to do with the gate.
What's it over? Fences.
I keep getting it. It's something about a car coming.
Fence, fix her. Fencer, person who makes the fences.
Just trying to figure it out a bit better. Looks like a sedan type car. Let's have a look at the car. It's like a colour.
Bit of a breach on your fence line.
I'm pretty sure someone's upset her about her animals.
They've said some animals out or like looking for strays. They were going to give her a lift to the gate or whatever it is to get them back in. But they didn't want to just give her a lift to the gate. They wanted to do something else with her.
Next, the hunt for Leslie's killer intensifies as the psychics uncover a motive for her murder.
I want you, I want you.
I can't have you, nobody will.
Lindsay Calvert is a legend in Waikawau for all the wrong reasons. Since 1977, he's had to live with the local rumours, insinuating that he murdered his wife, Leslie.
Her husband deserves the right to be, for one of words, pardoned by the public and all the people of the area to set him free because he's been a recluse pretty much probably all his life because of the shame. He didn't do anything, but the pressure it would be unbearable.
Both sensing murder psychics believe that Lindsay is innocent.
I think he was repairing his tractor at the time, tinkering around with his stuff.
Deb is in the shed where Lindsay was fixing a tractor tyre on the morning his wife disappeared.
Good place, mate.
I don't know why I keep getting these groups of people, like this club thing. And I keep going, rawr, rawr, rawr. Lions Club, rawr. I don't know why I feel like he was high in it, high in the club, or did he run it, or he was part of running it.
Lindsay was the charter president of the local Lions Club. Leslie was also involved in the club socially.
Husband's name, please, Leslie. Keep seeing two L's, L and L. And then all I keep hearing is Lindsay didn't know what he was doing.
Out of the blue, Deb has named Lindsay.
Something about fixing things all the time. But they still break down again. But he did his best at everything he could do.
They loved each other. You know, they're not perfect. Don't get me wrong, they're not perfect. There's a little bit of stress in the household, but...
I've got the love and I've got support with each other, but then the stress is coming on top.
She wasn't having an affair. She wasn't having an affair. I had to double check that there for a second.
Maybe she wasn't really that happy with her marriage, because I've definitely found a lot of sadness in the home.
Why have you gone all funny? Oi! She's just tripping out here. What are you gone all funny for? She's walking down the driveway.
I don't think they could talk anymore really well like they used to.
She just walked off. As soon as I said affair, she walked off. Weird.
It feels like a planning in the back of her mind to take the children. So she could have even been thinking about leaving him.
Did you have an affair? And they're getting the head shake.
She's not the sort of lady that would have had an affair.
Because sometimes people don't want to admit shit like that.
Leslie did have an affair, but it seems her spirit is not prepared to admit that to the psychics. Police investigating her disappearance wondered if the affair prompted Lindsay to murder his wife.
Her husband's been accused of doing all these things.
I think they think it's the husband.
You know what alpha pit is? Yeah, you buried her in an alpha pit. You're throwing her down a Tomo. Oh, you've done this, you've done that. And he's going, no, I have no idea.
Devastating, the effect on the husband. He's just lost, blown away.
They must have searched alpha pits. They must have looked at Tomos. They must have done all sorts of things.
Police did search Tomo caves and an offal pit for Leslie's body. The pit is covered over now, but was in the paddock behind Kelvin. Once again, the psychics try to tune in to Leslie's killer.
I just feel like it might have been someone local, like around this area, someone they knew.
The person who knew her from the area obviously had a reason to do it.
I think they must have socialised with them because I feel like I know them.
Someone falls in love with the boss's wife, and the boss's wife says no. There's a motive, isn't there?
I get the word neighbour a lot.
That person that knows her or knew her met her down here and they've gone off down the road.
But I have to head that way for the neighbour, not that way.
Both psychics are indicating to the same area, the opposite direction to where Leslie's body was eventually found.
She can still see that, so she must be here somewhere. You know what I mean? Her body is so close, it's underneath their noses is what she said.
Unable to pinpoint the actual spot, Kelvin is taken closer.
Top side.
Top side, top side, top side. Well, top side of the top of the hill. So, top side, we've got to keep going up.
Leslie's body was found just inside the fence line at the top of the hill. But something is confusing Kelvin.
Flat.
She keeps saying to me, flat.
Yes.
See, I asked her if she passed on the flat, and she said yes. In my view, being strangled, asphyxiated in one area and put into another to make it look as if the husband had something to do with it. It's almost like a big frame, you know? He's steep, man.
Kelvin climbs the hill closer to the point where Leslie's body was found.
There seems to be quite a lot of time between her passing and being found. She said, stop at September, Kelvin, so OK. Late September.
Leslie's body was found on the 12th of September, 7 months after she vanished.
Oh, yeah, now I'm starting to see the picture. She's decomposed quite severely. Quite a lot, actually. She's showing me her feet, so I don't understand what that means. It's kind of like she's got one boot on, one boot off. It's just freaky. Don't understand. It's flashing between the two.
One of the gumboots had detached from Leslie's body. The boots could be a vital clue, as their owner was never located.
Still feels like a local, like neighbour.
Someone was in love with her and she rejected them.
Want you. I keep getting the words, I want you.
She already knew that he was wanting her. She's already told him no, and he's just got for it.
He must have had a change of, like the mind flipped somehow.
If I can't have you, no one will. I can't have you, nobody will.
It's like if I can't have you, no one else is going to have her.
What it comes down to is jealousy and possession. She was asphyxiated by another person's hand, but not her husband's.
Earlier, Deb identified on a map the fence line where Leslie's body was found. She asks to go there.
gentleman that actually played a part in Leslie's murder came and had things fixed at the house because I could see her husband tinkering with everything, and I think people came to the house to get things fixed from him.
Lindsay was the local fix-it man. Now Deb approaches the hill.
I kept seeing the tree line, so she's in the trees just up here, top of the mountain. So she must have been just off the top.
The thing is, the horses play the bigger part here.
Flat.
I keep asking where were you killed, and I keep getting on the flat.
I believe she was killed in one area and dragged to the other.
So they would have searched all this. That's the thing. And when they searched it, she wasn't there. So she's been moved. And that might be why I keep seeing the horse.
Horse, dragged, thrown on a horse.
So she was hidden prior, but when I come here, it's dark. So I reckon it was at night time when they put her here.
Hides are up on the side of a bush line here, and the husband gets blamed for it.
Lindsay's not that stupid to do it and then keep it on the farm, keep her on the farm, then put it on the farm, you know. He's not that silly, so whoever it was trying to set him up. And that's why I reckon they know him, and they've got some vendetta against him, but had the hots for her, for Leslie.
Both psychics have sensed that Leslie was killed on the flat and was taken to the hill at a later date. Deb focuses on where her body was hidden in the meantime.
Where was it, Leslie? Where was your body? She must have been taken away from the area. So I keep going that direction, that's where she was.
Kelvin is hunting for clues about the killer. He tunes in to his work.
Contract fence fixer. It's a fence contracting fence fixer-upper. Get away back, you know, how people wrestle up their sheep. Muster up their sheep. Do a bit for those people, do a bit for those people, do a bit for those people.
About their age group, about the same age group as them.
Known to everybody. Probably been on his own for ages. He might be a bit of a loner too, funnily enough. She just said, Nigel, no mates.
Boasted something about club or something too.
The psychics pick up distinctive physical characteristics that could help identify the killer. For legal reasons, these cannot be revealed.
So I got or there's a problem with this guy down in the house, down the road here where I stopped at the first time.
Feels like an old man now. I think they need to look for someone with a really something wrong with his.
Next, Sensing Murder presents the psychic's description of the killer to Lindsay.
Most definitely. I recognise that description.
And a team of investigators follow up the psychic's leads.
The man who matches the psychic's description did carry a torch for Leslie.
Since 1977, Lindsay Calvert has had to endure rumours that he killed his wife, Leslie. The Sensing Murder psychics concluded that Leslie was murdered, but they did not believe Lindsay was responsible.
My husband's been accused all his life, he did not do it.
Sensing Murder invited Lindsay to Wellington to hear the psychic's findings.
I've known in here, and I'm sure my kids know, but I want to tell the world, see, I'm Lindsay and I didn't bloody do it.
So who did kill Leslie? Duncan Holland and his team of investigators attempted to find out. As former police detectives, they have used conventional methods to research the psychic's leads.
The psychics provided a detailed physical description of the man they believe killed Leslie Calvert. In fact, their descriptions were so specific, we're unable to broadcast them for legal reasons.
So I got or
About the same age group as them. Something wrong with his.
known to everybody. Probably been on his own for ages.
Connected with the club. Something about club.
In 1977, less than 100 people lived in the tight-knit community of Waikawau. Sensing Murder put the psychic's description of the killer to Leslie's husband Lindsay and the couple's friend Mary.
Most definitely. I recognise that description.
I used to get the creeps when he came into the farmhouse.
Sensing Murder asked Lindsay and Mary if the man that matches the psychic's physical description worked in any of the jobs Kelvin described.
Fencer, person who makes fences.
He had actually fenced with me at one stage.
Muster up their sheep.
He worked with the sheep and the cattle on the farm.
Do a bit for those people, do a bit for those people.
But he did all forms of farm work.
Deb thought that the killer knew Leslie's husband, Lindsay.
The gentleman that actually played a part in Leslie's murder came and had things fixed at the house.
Again, we put this to Lindsay and Mary.
Lindsay would fix things for him.
He would often bring gear around to me. I was the local fix-it guy.
Both psychics were also convinced that Leslie knew her killer.
She said I was murdered. I said, by who? She said, by a local.
I think they must be socialised with him because I feel like I know them.
He used to love to skite and try and impress Leslie.
Leslie considered this man a friend, but the psychics felt that the killer's feelings ran deeper.
I want you.
She already knew that he was wanting her. She's already told him no, and he's just got frustrated.
The police files state that by all accounts, the man who matches the psychic's description did carry a torch for Leslie.
I did feel that he did have an interest in Leslie.
Because Leslie was having an affair, I feel the other person decided it was time to step in and join the game.
Deb had a vision of the killer's car.
Like a colour?
For legal reasons, we can't reveal the details, but we can confirm that the man who matches the psychic's description drove a similar vehicle at the time. Kelvin was drawn to a particular house. Again, this has relevance to the man that matches the psychic's description.
I definitely know that's not her house, but she's telling me to stop here to look at this house. So we want to look at who was living in this house.
When Leslie and I first went back to the farm in 1968, after having lived in Taupo for a few years, he used to live there.
The man had moved by the time Leslie disappeared.
They've gone off down the road.
But I have to head that way for the neighbour.
Both psychics indicated the direction the man lived at the time of Leslie's disappearance.
It's very possible people were interfering with her animals.
In the months leading up to Leslie's disappearance and afterwards, a number of animals had been hurt or killed on the Calvert farm. The police files state that the man who matches the psychic's description had an alleged cruel streak when it came to animals.
Unimaginable cruelty, whereby he's made animals suffer.
Come and say your fence is broken, your stock's getting out.
They've said some animals out or like looking for strays.
Both psychics felt that Leslie had been lured away from the farm under the pretense her stock was loose.
That would be quite possible. Leslie was mad about animals. She would have forgotten everything else. She would have just automatically gone to tend to the animal.
She had boots on. Gum boots?
It's kind of like she's got one boot on, one boot off.
Leslie was wearing mismatched men's gumboots. Police never identified their owner, but Lindsay believes he did. He says he found the corresponding odd pair and they belong to the man who matches the psychic's description.
I took these odd boots to the New Plymouth Police and they didn't want to know.
The police were satisfied that the man who matches the psychic's description was working with his employer at the time Leslie vanished. However, we uncovered one statement on the police file where the man himself admitted he was working alone on the morning Leslie disappeared.
Now, I'm prior lunch still, so I'm in the morning with this.
My team tracked down the man who matches the psychic's description. He was adamant he did not murder Leslie. However, there were several discrepancies between what he told us and what he originally told police. We believe that this man should be investigated further.
The reality of it is that somebody's got away basically with murder.
Current New Plymouth Police are committed to following up any information that comes to light as a result of this program. If you have any information about the case, please contact Detective Sergeant Debbie Gower on 06 759 5500.
Somebody has to know. And I think, yes, people don't want to get involved. But I think after this length of time, that perhaps that's changed.
If you have any information about the psychic's findings, please log on to tvnz.co.nz and enter the keyword sensing.
It doesn't go away. It can't go away. I haven't got it in me to let it go. I'm so hurt at what's happened. My time on this earth is running out. I want it cleared for my sake. I want it cleared for my children. I want it cleared for my grandchildren. And this stigma is still there. I think the public of New Zealand are entitled to know what happened. And I want the world to know. I didn't do it. And I'm still looking for justice.
He lost his senses.
Brendan was blind.